everybody. Again, this is Scott Bunce, and today I'm with Olenka Cullinan, and we are going to talk about communication skills and this wonderful presentation that Olenka did with my Vistage group. Olenka, thank you for joining me today, and welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting, Scott. I'm very excited to talk more.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, I don't know, a few weeks back that you were at my Vistage group, and I was lucky enough to book you, and our topic was optimize your time, gain your life. So why don't we start out with the basics? How did you come up with that idea, and what's led you to giving this particular speech?
Yeah, absolutely. That topic, not only I feel that it's extremely important for majority of leaders in our country because they're often short on time, feeling burned out, feeling stressed. I mean, with everybody's on a kind of very tight schedule and busy all the time. For me, also, that topic is very personal. I grew up with a mother who was a CEO of a company, ran it for 37 years, but wasn't so always readily available for my brother and myself. So for me, optimization is so much more than productivity. It's truly surrounding, the whole life, because as humans, we're very much integrated beings. We can't just put a business in one box, personal life in another box. So for me, optimization is something that kind of runs through the whole life. And if you optimize your life, you truly, absolutely can gain your time back, be a better leader, be a better partner, be a better parent, and do just a lot more, enjoy your life a lot more in general.
You know, Olenka, I run into people left and right that are interested in Vistage, and then they start to stumble when they hear about this 1 day a month commitment. And in my mind, of course, if you have prioritized things correctly and you're not working so much in the business, but you can work on the business and free your mind to think about other things, uh, that's what really separates, I think, productive leaders from leaders that are struggling with day-to-day time management and are a slave to their phone. Now, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's kind of one thing that I do love about Vistage. And I've shared with you, I've been working with Vistage a few years now. One of the things I think that Vistage does best is allowing leaders, right, to step into that leadership, to step into that CEO mode, if you will, and get them out of the trenches. And I mean, yes, if we do think about it, 1 day a month is such a minuscule commitment on the grand scheme of things. But it's just unfortunate how many leaders are so, in the trenches. They can't really look up. They don't have time to think as a leader. It's unfortunate, but majority of leaders we meet, and I'm sure you see that with Vistage, probably even when they come into Vistage, are still in that like glorified job mode where they've built the business that's now become a job. And like you said, they're enthralled with their phones, and their schedule is always reactive versus proactive. They're always kind of like in that defense mode and trying to fix things last minute. And especially with technology, right? We all talk about AI and technology and phones and screens. While I'm a huge proponent of those things, it's just unfortunate how distractive they can be and like what a distraction they can create in our business, because we are really, losing time without even realizing that. And I think a lot of people are just not, I'm going to get very blunt here for a second, but a lot of people are dishonest with their time. They think that they have more time that they actually do, but then they're also extremely unproductive with the time that they have.
You know, when I think of technology, one of the things that, I see a lot of people with are Apple Watches, right? But I find when I'm meeting with people that have an Apple Watch, and I don't, I have a traditional watch,
Yeah.
they're constantly looking down at their wrist and they're distracted. They've lost the focus. I don't feel like I'm connecting with them, and they're thinking about the next response as opposed to being properly engaged and really being where they need to be. What are your thoughts around that?
Oh, it's such a good, it's such a good example. It's both Apple Watches and Apple and just phones when people put them on the table. I'm sure you've been in meetings where it's on their table or on their lap and they're constantly fidgeting with that, right? There is actually psychological studies behind it. And there is a study now that shows that an average American touches their device for any reason, whether it's looking at their Apple or looking at their phone, over 1,200 times a day. I mean, this is not just because something is there. This is because they're just so conditioned, right? Like we're so conditioned by being in all these devices. And again, a little bit of psychology for everyone who is listening. A brain is designed to reset every 7 minutes to be at 100% capacity. In our society, on an average, we get interrupted every 5. So if you think about it, with all the additional distractions like Apple Watch or phone or 20 screens we're running all at the same time, we almost never, as leaders, work at 100% capacity inside of our brain, which is, as you said, right? We are not present for each other or for people who we're surrounded with.
Well, speaking of downtime, I find that now it's after work or that phone grabbing addiction, can take you away from maybe quality time with your spouse, quality time with your children, and if the phone, or if you were more disciplined with the phone, I find people, they're saying, well, I need to be with my family more. But is it the time that you're with your family, or the quality time without a device, without being distracted, that makes your family be appreciated?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm so glad you brought this up because I see it so many people, and obviously by nature of what I do, I meet people's spouses, like you're saying. I meet leaders' spouses or partners all the time or kids. And it's just so unfortunate that it's exactly to your point. We don't we spend the time, not the present time, right? And because of we are so conditioned again by the device, and we all are prone to that doom scrolling, we're prone to just like mindless conversations and connections, and we go online and we spend it all across all these different platforms, and that absolutely takes away. I have a 15-year-old and I share that all the time. It definitely took us discipline to create the real connection, to the point we both agreed that we need to put our devices away in another room at times, just so we are actually present for each other. But again, it's a discipline, right? It's not something that's rocket science. It's not something that's completely unattainable. It's really teaching yourself that you are spending quality time, and quality time means that you're present, you're there, you're available. If we're still doing like the half, I tell people, I joke with leaders all the time, I don't need the halfsies. I don't need you half work, half play. I don't need you half on your phone, half listening, or half checking emails, half being present. Because, and I'm sure you're aware of that, your spouse or your child would much rather take a full hour where you're present and then you can do another hour just working. But the halfsies never really make anybody happy.
Right, right. So let's maybe switch the conversation more to, as opposed to what not to do, what should we do? And one of the things that was a takeaway in the meeting that I took is you had us go through an exercise of time wasters and what time you can get back. So why don't we take a few minutes and talk about proactive things that one should be doing to make the most of time?
Yeah, no, I love that. Yes. And honestly, again, right, these are sometimes a lot more simpler that we care to admit, because we all think we need this all or nothing approach. It's, I'm now locking my phone away under my bed and I'm going away for a week. These things can be something very small and easy, right? How many of you touch your phone as the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night, right? That's a simple habit to teach yourself not to do. You can absolutely stay away from your devices. You can make it a habit. And there's plenty of research now showing that the blue light from the devices in the evening is what's causing, anxiety and lack of sleep and poor sleep habits. So again, spending that 1 hour before bed where you don't spend that time with your devices is absolutely crucial. And then in terms of the time, it's again, it's the small specific commitments and steps that can change a lot, look at your calendar. Where are you spending money, or where are you spending time, right? Time is money, but where are you spending your time? Look at the calendar. Are you actually committed, or are you still running that to-do list that's 70 pages long that never gets done? And that's where I'm a big proponent, as I shared with, which is block calendar, right? Because when you actually take your items from the to-do list and put them into a block calendar, you now can see that you possibly ran out of blocks. And if you ran out of blocks, you physically ran out of time. So I would invite people to really get diligent with their phones, to also start looking at where does their time go per week, right? And if you're an attorney, you've done the billable minutes. It's not a bad habit for everybody to test out and actually run a day and see what time you're actually working, what time you're being interrupted, especially if we're back in person in the office, right? Every time people come in and pop in, just 1 minute, Scott, let me just ask you one question. It's never 1 minute, it's 15 or 20 or 25. So start really taking what I say, control and accountability of your time, and then potentially implementing blocks where you just do the work. And I think you're going to start getting very clear picture of where you actually spend in that time pretty quickly.
So, Olenka, one thing I've noticed, I got ready to go on vacation. And as I was getting ready to go on vacation, I am deleting meetings for the following week. I'm getting everything in, knowing what I'm going to miss out for the next week. But miraculously, everything gets done, right? And I think we overestimate the need and length for meetings. Probably could be shorter meetings, less on the agenda. If there is something that you can report on, just shoot a note as opposed to have a separate meeting on it. But again, what other tricks do you have that really helps people sharpen their perception of time?
Yeah, no, I love that. And I mean, to your point, exactly. Anytime we all need to leave somewhere and it's important enough, right? It carries enough value. We somehow manage to squeeze the time, as I say. So, yeah, my recommendation would be again, obviously creating time. And that's to your point, right? We can create time. If you're running an hour meeting and you reduce it by 15 minutes, whatever you can do in an hour, you can absolutely do in 45 minutes. So if you're running meetings that are 30 minutes, see if you can reduce them to 20. If you're running meetings that are an hour, reduce them to 45. If you're running meetings that are 90, drive them down to 15-minute less. Because if you open, 4 or 5 15-minute slots, you now gain yourself an hour back. And anybody who can gain an hour back can now create some space in their calendar to start thinking about things. But also, to your point, it's being proactive. Do you really need to have a meeting on every item? Can some of them be reduced into an email? Can some of them can be reduced into a quick Slack or team message, right? And then even with emails, the endless response emails that I talk about incessantly, right? Do we really need to respond to 12 people that were copied on that email and everybody needs to say, yes, I saw this. Yes, thank you so much. Like if it came, acknowledge that unless you're addressed, it was just a copy, right? And then again, to the leaders that are sending copies with 12, 14 people copied on the email, do all of them really need to be copied on that? Or could it be 3, which is now reducing the bulk of the information that's coming into everyone's inbox?
Yeah, I think time management in email is a critical way to either improve your approach and or streamline down what doesn't need to be done. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So let's turn our focus to you a little bit. You've been a TED Talk speaker a few times. You've had different businesses. Give us kind of a thumbnail on how you've got to be this expert and where some of your business intelligence comes from.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely have a very interesting kind of upbringing story. My mom was a CEO for 37 years. So again, that's why this topic is super personal to me. I saw her take a company from 87 employees to 317 when she retired. And I also saw her struggle with that time all the time, right? And so I very early on in life realized how exceptionally important it is to have control of your time, because I have since been able to have two successful exits, build my own company, work with, a lot of C-suite executives all across the globe, really. I've trained just on this optimization topic in 12 countries. And because of that, I was able to have that kind of like a real life exposure to what time can do. And I can tell you, and a lot of people, we may lose some friends here, Scott, but a lot of times I tell people you become the very own bottleneck in the growth of your business and your company, right? Because if every decision still runs through you, and I had to learn it the hard way, because I had to learn how to delegate with my team, learn how to optimize with my team, so I didn't hold every decision and not become the bottleneck in the growth of my own company. So my invitation is always, how are you the bottleneck and where are you spending your time? Because you are the one that's driving the most growth. So luckily, I've been able to sort of experiment with optimization myself and grow my own business while helping other people to step into that optimized lifestyle.
Okay, so speaking of your business, how do people get a hold of you, learn more about your message, book you for speaking, and or get time with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to help. It's very easy. It's my name, Olenka Cullinan, on LinkedIn or Instagram. These are the two platforms I'm most active on. And then if they want to see more about the programs, the name of my company is I Start First, because I indeed do always start first. So it's letter istartfirst.com, or by my name, Olenka Cullinan. I'd love to support.
Very good. Olenka, again, thank you so much for taking the time with me and for speaking to my Vistage group. You're somebody I'm going to be recommending to other Vistage chairs and anybody that really wants to sharpen their mindset around time.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thanks for having me.